Earlier this week, Matt Norlander wrote a really transparent, revealing, awesome article for CBSSports.com on the state of revenue sharing and NIL in college basketball and where this sport is headed as the rules change and budgets change and all of that. This is very fluid. I want to add that because I think when Norlander wrote this article, it was operating under the assumption that the $20.5 million revenue cap for college sports programs, each school gets $20.5 million, split it up however you want. I think that was the assumption. And yesterday, some changes have come out that have changed that, which are going to make it so that random entities can still donate as much NIL as they want to individual players. So some of this is already out of date, but that's not Norlander's fault. And this is a great piece where he interviewed coaches and got some really, really incredible intel on how they feel on all of this. One of the coaches that is featured heavily in this article is Tom Izzo from Michigan State. And I'm going to read an excerpt from the Norlander piece. Everybody go make sure you support Matt Norlander, follow him, all of that. Read all the great work he's doing at CBS. The quote is this. Izzo said he wants transparency on basketball spending when it comes to revenue sharing. Michigan State is at $3.5 million for the upcoming season, but that number will increase in a year. Why can't the public know how each school is breaking down their budget? After all, the 20.5 number is public information. Then the quote from Izzo, why isn't it transparent? Izzo said, you don't have to say what these players are making. But why can't we say Michigan State gets 4 million, Arkansas gets 5 million, and so on and so on? Interesting revealing quotes from Tom. Shout out to Tom for making his thoughts known. We know he's one of the most influential voices in college basketball coaching. But as far as I know, Carter, this is the first time we've heard anyone anywhere go on record and say how much money Michigan State's roster is making under Tom Izzo. This year, Matt Norlander reports they are making $3.5 million. But in a year, when the revenue sharing kicks in, Michigan State is set to make more, per Matt Norlander. Logistically, does this make sense to you, and is any of this a surprise?
Well, before we even talk about that, I think it's hilarious that a revenue share, a money conversation is coming up, and the first coach are like, "Oh yeah, we got to get Izzo. He's the man we want to talk to about spending money and what should be done with money in college basketball. That'd be the perfect thing to be done." I guess to make sure I answer your question correctly, are you talking about like, am I surprised by the number being 3.5 for Michigan State?
Really, any of this? Are you surprised that like 3.5 for this roster is one conversation? I'd like to flesh that out. But more importantly, the whole idea that okay, we have $3.5 million this year. This is the last year that we're in the wild, wild west era. Theoretically, there's nothing stopping Michigan State from spending as much as they want this year. It's
Hmm.
Tom Izzo's job to figure out how much money he wants to spend, fundraise, bring in money from donors, use whatever money he can. He could spend $20 million this year if he wants to. So I hear that it has landed at $3.5 million. Okay, I have some thoughts on that. But in this same sentence, we go from 3.5 this year in the wild, wild west to we're going to spend more money next year in the revenue sharing card. As far as I understand, no team in the country is going to spend more money next year when revenue sharing kicks in than they are this year. That Michigan State would be the only school in the sport that's doing that. Kentucky spent over $10 million on their roster next year, and they're going to spend triple what every SEC school is reportedly, and it's still going to be less on their roster next year than this year. Michigan won't even be in the same ballpark as what they spent this year. So it's kind of backwards to say, yeah, we got 3.5 this year, but next year, when revenue sharing kicks in, we're going to spend more. I don't really get that.
I also don't think that Izzo understands how much money was spent on this team either, respectfully.
Really? So you think the 3.5 number might not be accurate?
Well, this here's the thing, because right when we heard the number, my initial asking around, I wanted to know like how's that distributed amongst this roster, which I was able to get a little bit more information on certain players, and then you can do a little guesswork after that as far as how the money is distributed amongst the team. But apparently, the number for this roster is more around 5 million, which I don't even know how that would be divided up. Because I had a hard time dividing up 3.5 million when this came about. But I mean, I'm not coming on here to say that he doesn't understand what's going on, but I, quite frankly, that's not possible with how revenue sharing works. Like it's not possible that you're going to be able to spend more like you stated with that kind of in place, unless unless you are paying like let's say 3.5 million for this roster, and maybe I mean could it arise where next year they decide that they want to put more money towards that and like less money towards other sports, like what I'm saying, the division of the money is different.
Yeah, I mean, if they're doing the Kentucky model, right? When sharing kicks in, you have $20 million. How are you going to split it up between football and basketball? If you want to say we're a basketball school, we're going to spend 50% of that on basketball, then yeah, Michigan State should have more money. Maybe that's what they will do, and maybe that's what Izzo's implying. Maybe this could save Michigan State budgets, honestly. Like if Tom Izzo's coming to the table next year with a school mandated from Jay Batt $10 million that he has to spend this year. Otherwise, it's going to nothing. I would assume that that would probably be spent and you would have more money for more players and maybe there's more talent on the roster a year from now. That's just backwards because no other team is operating like that. And I guess it leads me back to my overall, just like general question on this year's number, whether it's 3.5 or whether it's 5. Why is Izzo going on record saying that he needs the revenue sharing portion of this to increase their budget? Haven't we been told privately for years the money's there for him to spend whatever he wants? Money's not an issue. And maybe our sources are different than other people's sources. I don't know. But like it's not operating the way it should. This is supposed to be the year you can spend whatever the hell you want, Tom. And my understanding is Tom has set his own budgetary restrictions that I don't know why Tom would view it as that's going to change with revenue sharing a year from now, you know? This video is brought to you by NBA 2K Labs or maybe college football labs because the people behind 2K Labs have just built something awesome. CFBLabs.com has everything you need to play college football 26 even better. Cart, you've been playing the game, right?
I have been, but I'm behind the eight ball, Gregory. There's a lot of people out there who got a little bit of edge on me, but the good folks over at 2K Labs got me covered. They got the playbooks I need, the plays, the head-to-head coaches, knowing some teams. Obviously, way too many college football teams. I need the inside edge here, and they got all different types of things to help me get that edge.
Yeah, I jumped in and started playing Road to Glory over the weekend, and I ended up like a 2-star recruit that did not get one snap in season one because I chose the wrong school with the wrong roster that was way too loaded. Had I known that CFBLabs.com exists, I would have made a much more wise decision in my Road to Glory mode. They've got teams, playbooks, coaches, team comparison tools. You can literally see every single play in the game, every player in the game, their rating, what they're good at, all in one consolidated place online to help you make the right choices and win more games in college football 26. CFBLabs.com. Go check it out.
It's not, and I don't think it's ever gonna. I don't think anything could ever change, for as far as how he spends money and how he prefers to handicap himself as far as his philosophy on paying and what you spend on players.
It's like either it's a principle issue, like I think this is what guys deserve, or it's a logistical issue. And in my head, it's never been a logistical issue for Michigan State. So
No, it's a precedent or what a principal issue, like you stated. Like you look back to what happened with Darius Adams. Part of the big part of why we didn't get Darius Adams is because, and this is reportedly, right? Like I know the roles and everything else was a part of this, and we could talk about that. But a big part of it was the principle that Darius Adams would be the highest paid player on the team.
yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah, and that
Interesting.
just that didn't work.
Interesting. All right. Let's see here. One other thing from me on this. 3.5. You're disputing that number. You say it's 5. Is that per a source? Where are you getting
Yeah,
that?
that is, I think, what I guess you would call it, like the donors believe that, like that's the amount of money they put towards the basketball roster,
Was that money
apparently.
accepted and spent?
Probably not.
Like if Tom Izzo's saying on record for the first time, yeah, my roster's $3.5 million this year, I kind of have a hard time believing, no matter who the source is, that that's not an accurate number. Like Tom Izzo flatly said in this interview, yeah, my roster's 3.5 million this year. Are we supposed to be like he's lying? Like
No, maybe he believes it's 3.5 million.
so we how would that work? Someone at Michigan State's paying players and Tom Izzo doesn't know about it?
And maybe they're giving a little bit more. He thinks a player is getting a certain amount, but they're not. I'm
He doesn't
listen.
Tom Izzo's not checking the Venmo receipts.
He doesn't have Venmo.
Carter's funding an additional $1.5 million, just sending
If I
Cohen
if I
Carr.
if I if I had it, I for sure would. I
Oh
for sure
man.
would. No, but like if it definitely is 3.5 million. But I'm just saying when I double checked that and I was like, is this what this roster is worth? The message I got back was that number seems low. I thought it was more around five.
So okay, thank you for that. So when I ask my next question, should I use 3.5 or should I use 5 as the number?
Use 3.5. I think it's a lot easier to get to that number than it is the five.
Okay, so I'm going to use 3.5. So you mean to tell me that Michigan State basketball's entire roster this season is making $500,000 less than Yaxel Lendeborg and Braden Smith individually, not combined. Yaxel Lendeborg is making $4 million to play 1 year at Michigan by himself.
Hmm.
Braden Smith is making, we've been told, $4 million, if not more, with endorsements.
Is he making four?
That's the number I've been told when you add it
Uh,
up.
I thought he. Oh yeah, yeah. The entire roster is making $500,000 less than
That's
those
absurd.
players.
Like, that's absurd. That's got to be, like, I don't even know if we're saying Michigan State's a top 25 team this year, but like, of top 25 programs, that has to be the lowest number in America, right?
On what they're spending on rosters.
Top to bottom, an entire roster. I can't imagine there's another program in the top 50 this year that's spending less than that. Maybe I'm tripping on that, but like maybe Wisconsin? Maybe, but
Yeah,
Wisconsin
maybe.
probably had to keep Blackwell.
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly, yeah, it's low. It's extremely low.
Does any of this surprise you or no? Like, not really?
No, not really. Not given what this program is. Like, I hate it? Yes, but this is how things work.
Not saying you need more money to win either. You might win the Big Ten this year anyway. But like, I don't know. It's just kind of jarring to hear it actually on record because I feel like a lot of this has been rumored. Takes me back to the day that Trey Holloman hit the transfer portal and
Mm.
a bunch of shit blew up in our face because we said we think this is financially related. And a lot of people were like, no, it's not. He just wants to play point guard. Bullshit. What do you get to go to NC State? 1.6?
Is that what he got?
I thought so. I thought we talked about all these numbers.
We
Maybe I'm
probably
wrong.
did. Honest, I forget sometimes.
Listen, and all these numbers are like, who knows? They're probably all lies. It's just numbers that were fed, and maybe it's wrong. But like, he went to NC State, and the number that has been floated is almost half of what the entire Michigan State roster is getting put together per Tom Izzo. Like, at that point, it's hard for me to buy that any player like made a wrong decision, even though we blasted Trey Holloman for that decision.
Yeah, this. I mean, you can't. I don't even blame Trey for leaving for 1.6, but he just wasn't getting that at Michigan State. But I, that's besides the point. The point is that 3.5 million for a whole roster for Michigan State is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That we think that we and if they get it done with this roster and do whatever they want to do, then like I guess here's the point I want to get to, the end point I want to get to. I don't care if it works or not. You are handicapping yourself by only having a roster that's worth $3.5 million.
Yeah. But maybe it's going to increase, like Izzo says, next year with the revenue sharing. I still don't understand why it would, but we'll see. Um, but maybe more importantly, it makes last year more impressive. Tom Izzo just running circles around the rest of the conference while spending less money than all of them is something for sure.